When the season began, many predicted the White Sox would contend for the division title with a combination of explosive young players and off-season additions. And at the same time, many yawned at the Royals offense and their off-season. But with fewer than 30 games to go and coming off a 20-hit game, the Royals begin tonight with a 19.5 game lead over Chicago. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. After taking 2 out of 3 from the Tigers, the Chicago White Sox are in town for a 3-game weekend series. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. It was a long night last night, but if you're going to stick around for 3 hours and 58 minutes to play 9 innings, you may as well win the ball game.
That's right. A beat down on the Motown Tigers was really special. Taking another series here at the K. Can't wait to see what they can do against the Sox.
When teams went to the unbalanced schedule several years ago, it made it very important. If you're going to win your division, you needed to play very well in your division, and the Royals have been outstanding this year in the Central, and they have been at their best against the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, and you know, the White Sox coming in after they loaded up, spent way over $100 million on some of their new players. Look, they have been a disappointment. But you know, the Royals could care less. They have attacked and played their game. Defense is their staple. There's no doubt about it. They are the best defensive team, saving runs for pitchers. And look at, speaking of pitchers, they got that too. The Royals are very well balanced, especially against the Sox. Look at Alex Gordon. Are you kidding me? Knocking over people, knocking over seeds, doing anything he can to help his team win. That's what they're getting, especially against the Sox.
Royals have won the season series already with Chicago. That's 5 consecutive season series against the White Sox. Chris Medlin starts tonight. Joel and Monty are coming up next.
opening day. Our AT U-verse rewind looks back the pomp, the circumstance, the offense for the Royals against the White Sox. 10-1 the win. Perhaps a sign of things to come as the Royals are 10-3 against the White Sox, a team that might have looked frustrated from day one. Lorenzo Cain and company have had the last laugh. Joel Goldberg alongside of Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery back here in left field. And Monty, prior to this year, John Danks owned the Royals. He was 7-0 in his career, 16 starts. But something different happened this year. The Royals finally were able to beat him. It feels like anybody that has been a demon of theirs, so to speak, in the past, they've been able to slay.
Yeah, and it's really difficult to figure out how they couldn't figure out. He's a guy that's got almost 20 games below 500 career-wise on his record of 4.5 ERA, but the Royals couldn't get him. This year's a different story. I've got him twice here at the K. Got to like their chance of keeping that rolling. Once you get that guy, there's a good chance you're going to establish a confidence and know what it takes. You got to be patient with him. Let him come to you. Don't do any favors for him. Get in his head early in the game.
He was frustrated earlier in the year here at Kauffman Stadium. He has beat the Royals twice. That was in Chicago. Lost to them both times here in KC. Chris Medlin ready to make his third start of the year. First pitch is coming up next.
Baseball is brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. And by your Kansas City Chevy dealers. Visit your local Chevy dealers today for great prices on all the new 2015 vehicles. Big crowd here tonight as the Royals begin a 3-game weekend series with the Chicago White Sox, a team the Royals have dominated this year. Robin Ventura's team is 8 games below 500, but with the Royals 31 games above 500, that leaves the White Sox 19 and a half out. And they have had some kind of disappointing season on offense. They have hit the fewest home runs in the American League. They have scored the fewest runs in the American League. And we'll see how that translates tonight against Chris Medlin, who is making his 3rd start of the year.
Yes, Chris Medlin, looking forward to seeing him pitch tonight, and so is the crowd here. He's been doing a fine job. Fastball, curveball, changeup. He mixes his speeds. He's going to average 91, but he'll top 93, works quickly, and has a very confident disposition about him. Good mound presence, good athlete. fields his position well.
And so aware that he knew it was 7:09 and was looking back at the clock, and now that it's 7:10, he's ready to pitch. And Adam Eaton greets him with a ground ball base hit into center field. And a look at the Royals defensively tonight, presented by Ford.
Hosmer is the best first baseman in this league. Haven't seen a whole lot of the other league, but I could guarantee you he's probably the best in all leagues because he's just fabulous with his footwork, his glove work, his arm. He has every gift a first baseman would like. He's left-handed. It's even better.
Jose Abreu bats second. First time the Royals have seen that with the White Sox this year.
Well, he's been able to utilize right field a lot, has a lot of inside-out swings. He's not having the season that he had last year, although he's still having he's a professional hitter, but he's not pulling balls as much. So Ventura said, hey, let's try him in a 2-hole.
It's the 21st time he has batted second. He has played almost 100 games as the number 3 hitter. I remember reading about him during the offseason. He was the American League Rookie of the Year last year, and for very good reason. But he talked a lot about wanting to hit more to the opposite field. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, if he hit .230 last year with 15 home runs and 56 driven in, that's one thing, but he hit .322 with 33 home runs and 99 RBIs. I mean, are you overthinking?
Well, what he's doing is they're pitching him inside, and there you go, right there. That's an inside pitch, and pitchers have been trying to beat him inside, and he's not pulling it. He's not just being up there and manning up and saying, I'm gonna yak you, I'm gonna hit you foul if I have to. He's doing that. That's why they put him in that 2-hole. See where this pitch is? It's in, way in on his hands, but he keeps his hands inside the ball, and he's utilizing that field. One of the reasons why he wants to hit for a high average. Hit the hole perfectly.
So Medlin in trouble right away. First and third, nobody out. To Melky Cabrera, who was batting second most of the year. Now he is hitting third. And he goes after the first pitch. No swing.
Abreu and Melky Cabrera, they're 2 most productive hitters in the lineup as far as knocking runs in. Both of them hitting well over 300.
Good changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yep, and Medlin's going to have to start going to some secondary pitches if they're jumping on his fastball.
Medlin has only faced Chicago once, and that was in a relief appearance last month. A very good relief appearance. He went 3 2/3 innings, did not allow a run, did not allow a hit, and now he gives up hits to the first 2 batters he faces tonight. Cabrera takes a strike, and it's 2-2. This was back on August the 9th.
He'd gladly give him a run for a double play ball here. But he's going to have to work it down. In his career, he's 20 points lower facing left-handed batters, and that's because of his good changeup. His changeup works down and away. A lot of lefties try to pull it. He gets ground balls and pop-ups, so he's had more success in his career against left-handed hitters.
And here comes that changeup. And it was up. Medlin. He'll go to the plate, and the Royals get an out.
How about his athleticism? Talked about this, how good he bounces off the mound. This play here, there's a lot of pitchers in the game that can't make this play, and heady enough to take the out at home. That was a better angle for him to get the out at home than it was to first base. Oh, look at that. Former shortstop able to make that play with no problem. Look at the balance. Look at him. He's going to set his feet a little bit off, but look, he's fallen back, put the throw on the perfect side of the plate, and Eaton is a dead White Sox.
That was all Medlin. I mean, watching Eaton, he really didn't do anything wrong. I mean, he made sure that the ball was going to go over the mound, and I think the play caught him off guard. I think even if he slides, he's out, but he was caught so off guard that he just stood there and allowed Salvador to tag him out.
Tell you what, athletic pitchers really can help themselves, and we witnessed it there.
Fouled away by Avisail Garcia.
So usually it's the defense behind the Royals pitcher, but for the first defensive star, you got to give it to Medlin. Eaton, you're right. He didn't know what to do. So Robin Ventura's over there going, here we go again.
Out over the plate. That pitch was supposed to be in. Abreu is going to be waved home on Kane, who goes all the way to the plate. Not in time. And Joe McEwing gambling and sending Abreu. Garcia drives in the game's first run.
Abreu got a good takeaway from second base. Good jump. McEwen, the third base coach, says, all right, we can send him. That ball's right down the middle. Gonna get hit. Kane, a little bit deep. Throw on the third base side gets him. That throw was a little bit on the first base side of home plate and not in time.
So 3 of the first 4 hitters are on with base hits. 2 on 1 out to Adam LaRoche. Way outside, ball 1.
Well, you know, these are fastballs that they're hitting, and they're looking for them, and they're not placed properly. But how many times do we talk about the first inning? First inning is the time to get a pitcher. He's trying to get gauged. He's trying to figure out what his pitches are doing. The White Sox are ready for it.
Upstairs again, 2-0.
He looks like he might be rushing a little bit coming out of that delivery. Even those 2 pitches up, that's not what he wants, especially against LaRoche, a guy that can handle him and hits for power. Keep it down, roll him up.
And that's inside, 3-0.
Pretty good spot.
Swinging 3-0 and a shot foul outside of first. Mentioned the White Sox have very little experience against Medlin. LaRoche and Medlin, veterans of the National League. So that is far and away the most experience of any White Sox hitter. 18 at bats, and LaRoche has a home run against Medlin. Changeup on 3-1.
That's the kind of location and spot he wants. And if he throws it 3-1, why not throw it 3-2?
A walk. And now 4 of the first 5 have reached, and Chicago has the bases loaded with 1 out and 1 run in.
So like Edison Volquez last night, Volquez didn't have his good curveball. So he was working his other pitches in there, and he postured around a little bit, but that's one of the things you won't see from Medlin. He's not going to take a lot of time in between pitches. But whenever you don't have your best stuff, you got to go with what's working. And it looks like Medlin's changeup's been his best pitch so far. Early, only 18 pitches.
And a first pitch changeup to Alexei Ramirez.
It's a good pitch. First pitch with him loaded. The hitter's looking heater all the way there.
It has not been a great year for Alexei Ramirez, but he's been on a roll in his last 5 games with 9 hits, and he has the bases loaded with 1 out. That breaking ball hangs high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Out over the plate, Zobrist didn't get it. He may have been trying to step on the bag and field at the same time, and the ball gets under his glove, and Chicago gets 2 more.
Yeah, that's exactly what Zobrist was trying to do. He was trying to time his body to where he was able to catch that and tag the bag at the same time, and really what you want to do is catch the ball. You would get an out if you catch it. See how he held up there? He held up to try to stay on the bag, and you want to get that ball. Save that second run from coming in. But just like the Tigers last night took a 3-0 lead, so have the White Sox. Even if he lays down and dives, still knocks the ball down and gets the force at second. Get an out of it.
Five of the first 6 have reached. 2 on 1 out to Carlos Sanchez.
White Sox have lost 21 of the last 27 games against the Royals. They are coming out saying, look, we got to get after these guys, or we're going to find ourselves in trouble. So they're trying to jump out, and they're doing the job. They're finding the holes.
Oh, and 2 on Sanchez. Lays off a good changeup. Salvador Perez liked that location. 1 and 2. Sanchez has LaRoche at second base and Ramirez at first. And a breaking ball is hit out to Zobrist, so another chance for a double play. And the Royals turn this one. Chicago gets 3. Royals are coming up against John Danks. counting. All those cracks added up to 20. Royals with a season high 15 runs, 20 hits last night against Detroit, and now their magic number to win the Central is down to 17, and that was a game where Alcides Escobar was off after a long stretch of games starting at shortstop, and the Royals have scored 27 runs in their last 2 games. So a 3-0 deficit in the first inning probably feels like nothing.
Royals are saying we got him right where we want him. Now if John Danks would have just saw that little nice display of hitting that Sam Abramson provided for us, he might go, whoa, okay, I know they can hit, but don't show me that, because that's come off mostly 2 left-handed starters.
Danks 6-12 this year, and his ERA is just under 5. 2-2 against the Royals. 2-1 to Alcides Escobar.
Loves to throw the high fastball. That's 2 in a row there. He knows he's playing in this ballpark, he can get away with it. In his ballpark, it's different. He's a little better pitcher. He's 2-0 against the Royals at their place. Here he's 0-2. Going to mix in a changeup. He cuts the fastball in on righties, and he's got a pretty big slow looping curve. But he likes to pitch in the top part of the strike zone. There's his breakdown. Cutter's an effective pitch for him in on righties.
Full count. Escobar got the day off, and Christian Colon had a very good game offensively and defensively, filling in for Escobar. Danks begins his night with a strikeout. And among other problems, the White Sox have not had a good year defensively. Here's their alignment tonight. -38 in defensive runs saved. You contrast that to the Royals, who are +60. That's a difference of 98 runs. Ben Zobrist had a 4-hit game last night. Both he and Kendrys Morales had 4 hits. First time Royals teammates have done that in 4 seasons. 2 teammates with 4 hits in a 9-inning game. The last time that happened involved 2 players on the field here tonight. In July of 2011 at Colorado, Eric Hosmer had 4 hits, and Melky Cabrera in his 1 year with the Royals had 4 hits. Still 0-2 on Zobrist.
Zobrist 3 for 23 in his career against Danks. Danks has some pretty good numbers against the Royals.
Danks almost got it with his bare hand. Sanchez looked like he couldn't decide whether to flip it to Ramirez or flip it to his bare hand, and Zobrist is on with an infield single.
Just another infield hit by a Royal. Infield hits turn into rallies. We're known for that. Danks, you know, he wasn't going to bare hand that. He wanted to stop it, but you noticed his momentum carrying him to the third base line. So any bunters that have any idea on bunting on him can push the ball to first.
A reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
The 120th infield hit by a Royal this year. That's third best.
Lorenzo Cain hits one off the end of the bat. A lot of spin. Danks down to second. No double play. The White Sox get the second out, taking care of Zobrist.
Danks Took a chance there, and he was accurate with his throw. Didn't rush it. He's a veteran guy. He knows it's important to stay under control, slow the game down, and if you're convicted to get the out at second, then get it.
Oh, and 1 to Eric Hosmer. Hosmer's a Royal who's done well against Danks, especially when you're talking about a lefty-lefty matchup, hitting .290.
And overall, against lefties this year, Hosmer's been very consistent, hitting .287 with 3 out of his 14 home runs coming against southpaws. So that's a really good average for a left-handed hitter off a left-handed pitcher. Mainly breaking balls away, fastballs away.
Away and in the dirt. In his career, he has been a better second half hitter, and very much so again this year. Almost 60 points better with his batting average than the first half. And he was the one Royal who consistently picked up his game while Alex Gordon was gone. Remember when Alex went down, we thought, well, someone's going to have to pick it up, and it was easy to focus on one of the outfielders because Alex is an outfielder. But if there was one player whose game went to another level with Alex's absence, it was Hosmer.
And if I remember the game that Alex went out, we didn't want to put any pressure on anybody, but we said some other guys are going to have to step up, and Hos, it's your turn. Now remember, I said that right away. It's Hosmer's going to step up and take care of it along with some other guys, and that was exactly what happened. Dyson stepped in, Paulo Orlando stepped in, but Hosmer's been doing a bulk of the damage since he's been gone. And that's what you ask for whenever you lose a star.
2 on, 2 out to Kendrys Morales, our Toyota League leaders. The Royals this year back to the best batting average with the 20 hits last night, and 4th in the American League in runs scored after finishing last year 9th. Kendrys Morales with 2 on, 2 out. And nobody has been better than him this year, driving in runs with 2 outs. 51 of his 98 RBIs have been with 2 outs. And that, by the way, is a Royals franchise record. Home plate umpire Brian Knight is going to say that Kendrys went too far. No balls, 2 strikes. And with 4 runs driven in last night, only Josh Donaldson has more RBIs than Kendrys Morales in the American League.
He can do it with 2 outs.
Johnny Gomes, one of the best the Royals have, one of the best the league has now against left-hand pitching, waits on deck. And Morales swings over a fastball and strikes out. Danks strikes out 2 in a scoreless bottom of the first inning. First inning's over already? Stadium, and the last one is on September 25th. The Indians will be here. Fans tonight, as fans will on the 25th, stocking up on dollar hot dogs and peanuts, presented by Visit KC. For tickets, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Tyler Flowers will lead off for Chicago, and he goes after the first pitch and nails a fastball into right field. And the White Sox already have 5 hits against Chris Medlin.
Better start mixing up those first pitches in, because that's exactly what they're looking for. They're being aggressive. That's their game plan, obviously.
And now the rookie Tyler Saladino, batting at .233. We saw the beginning of his big league career in a series in Chicago, and he's one of the hottest things the White Sox had going, but the league has caught up to him and he has cooled off.
Yeah, .250 he's hitting in his last 5 games. So, you know, that's how it normally happens, unless you're just a phenomenal hitter. Beautiful.
Cuthbert to Zobrist 1, Zobrist to Hosmer 2. Second double play for Medlin. He ended the top of the first inning with a double play.
First man sure, second man quick. Zobrist on the top. Love the way he turns that double play. That ball is straight, and you get a little more power on it when you throw on top. Nice. Cuthbert winning over a lot of Royals fans with his play, his energy. Really, he's a perfect fit.
Homegrown, so that means something in the clubhouse when you're called up from the minor leagues.
Yes, it does. Calm, under control.
Medlin gives up a leadoff single, gets a double play and a ground ball, and faces only 3 with a 5-pitch second inning.
White Sox lead on Zombie Night 3-0. Fried brains perhaps on the menu. Johnny Gomes has way too much energy to be a zombie. We saw him on Wednesday. Perfect read on second base, goes second to home. He said that is baseball IQ. And I was asking him today, when did you get that baseball IQ? Can you learn it? And he said that you need to be able to be above and beyond the will to learn and just soak it in. Every single moment matters. There, he knew right away what he wanted to do. And he said part of that is being a guy that doesn't play all the time. You need to be into every single moment. And the other thing he said he learned was that back in 2008, that really good young team of Tampa Bay Rays that he was on, he called them a bunch of young punks. And he said he realized at that point that every single moment of the playoffs mattered, but why should that be any different than, say, something in June? Why should it be louder and bigger in the playoffs? Why can't you do that in June and every single moment? This is a guy, Ryan and Hud, that tries not to miss any little detail that could help him or his teammates every moment of the game.
I had a chance to listen in when Joel and Johnny were having that conversation, and he's a very interesting guy to talk to. And he took it a step further, Joel, and Hud. He said, you know, why should, as Joel said, not only should it be just as important in June as it is in the playoffs, but if you make it important in June, if you make it important in August and September, then when you come up in the playoffs, you're prepared.
Totally makes sense.
It's the same game. It's a little louder, but it's the same game because you've been treating it the same all season. Saladino, diving play, good throw to Abreu, and he takes a hit away from Gomes, who hit it right on the nose.
Makes a lot of sense. I know what he just said. You practice like you play, and you give it 100%. It comes natural for you in October. Look at this. Nice play by Saladino. Gets to his feet. Got him.
Go ahead, Joel.
Well, I just want to know, and Hud, maybe you can relate to this, as a guy that didn't always play every day. You talk about riding the pine and all that kind of stuff. You know, Johnny is a guy that doesn't always play every single day, and he says sometimes those superstars are those guys that are in there every day. They've got other things to worry about during the game. They're going up to look at their video. They need to grab a cup of water, whatever it might be, and he says that as a guy that's not in there every day, he has to lock in on everything.
Hit well to right field, and now Garcia and the White Sox are doing their best Royals impression on defense. 2 hard hit outs against Danks in the second inning.
You learn more sitting on the pine for 9, watching the game and listen to the chatter, going and standing behind a manager when he's got a decision to make during games. It's a valuable lesson if you're paying attention. Good break. Garcia, fine athlete, and right. Ooh, man. He looks like he needs a nap.
Two down to Cuthbert. Takes a fastball for a strike. Cuthbert hit his first big league home run and drove in 4 2 nights ago against the Tigers. Two balls, 1 strike. Got a fastball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I showed you the pitch breakdown for Danks last inning. And if those numbers are correct, you're going to get a fastball less than half the time. That's hit well to center field. Eaton goes back, and that's over his head. So a third hard hit ball for the Royals in the second inning, their first hit. And Cuthbert just keeps rolling along.
But you notice how selective he was early in the count. He wasn't over aggressive. And a lot of young hitters, they want to swing early, but he waited for his pitch. That's a well located fastball down, and he barreled it. He dropped the head right on that. Got some backspin, and Eaton thought he had a track, and then he shut it down, said, ain't no way I'm catching that baby. That ball gave Eaton tracer burns on his face. That ball was tattered and battered.
And that brings us to Paulo Orlando. facing his original franchise in the Tigers series. Paulo Orlando had 5 at-bats, 4 hits, all of the hits for extra bases, 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. And that's a shot to left field. Cuthbert is going to be waved home on Melky Cabrera. The throw is a good one, and he is out. So it was a noisy bottom of the 2nd inning for the Royals, and John Danks is lucky that he goes back into the dugout without allowing a run.
Melky Cabrera 7, make it 8 outfield assists now, got him by a mile. With 2 outs, sometimes you take a chance.
We go to the 3rd inning. This is back on July the 1st. Edinson Volquez nailing George Springer and breaking his right wrist. And he was activated from the disabled list today, so he was out for over 2 months, a little over 2 months. Led off for the Astros tonight against Minnesota and singled in his first at-bat.
Got him back just in time because those Rangers are coming. Just 2 games behind him.
That little girl, she's upset. She really thought Oakland was going to have a good year this year. 1-1 on Jose Abreu.
Oh, I think it was one of the zombies that scared her.
Abreu singled to right and scored a run in the 1st inning. Jammed. Paulo Orlando is there, so Abreu's been jammed twice by Medlin. First time up he was jammed and he rolled one into right field. This time he was forced to try and pull it, and he flies out to left.
Okay, obviously they're trying to tie him up inside, and this is what they want, a result out of it. Little pop up or a little ground ball to the 3rd baseman. And if he keeps an inside out swing trying to go to right, they'll keep jamming him inside and taking their chances. That guy gets his hands extended, he hits the ball to the opposite field out of the yard.
All 1-2 Melky Cabrera. On with a fielder's choice in the 1st inning, which was a very good defensive play by Chris Medlin to get an out at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. White Sox scored all 3 runs in the 1st inning. Garcia drove in 1. Ramirez drove in 2. Squirted foul, 1-2 on Cabrera.
Okay, here it is. Now this ball's hit hard. Okay, he picks up the ball before Cuthbert even touches 3rd base. Usually, and 3rd base coaches like to try to score runs with 2 outs, but he made a mistake there. Melky with a good throw. Perfect.
Good changeup. I don't know if that was a mistake. Well, I think it was the right call, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying was third base coaches are counting on the fact with a guy with decent speed that you've got to execute a perfect throw to get him, and he did, and he put it right there on the money.
It's interesting talking to a third base coach when they make what would be a risky call and listening to all the reasons why they made that risky call. It's much more than you would think. At least I would think. Cuthbert makes the play in the hole, turns all the way around and throws a bullet over to Hosmer. And now Medlin has an 8-pitch 1-2-3 top of the third inning.
Steady as she goes. Nice play.
Volunteered as a scout leader and coach for his kids' sports, but also known as a father figure for members of the Kansas City special needs community. He was hired as the first psychologist 31 years ago at Children's Mercy Hospital, currently section chief in development and behavioral medicine. He's also worked as a team member for the hospital's Down Syndrome Clinic and has been honored by the Down Syndrome Guild of Greater Kansas City for a long tenure of service, and he's sitting in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat at tonight's game.
Congratulations, Brian. There's a huge need for people like you to help those that have a hard time.
Escobar struck out against Danks in the first inning. We were talking when the top of the third came to an end, all the things that Mike Jerschele has to consider when sending a runner or not sending a runner. Now, if he held Cuthbert, Alcides Escobar was coming up, and he hits 111 against John Danks. Garcia was shallow in right field, so he fades back to make the play. So there's the obvious, which you described. You know, the ball's in Cabrera's glove before Cuthbert gets to third base, so less than 2 outs. You're going to hold him every time, but there are 2 outs, and you're a little more aggressive. You're going to take more chances with 2 outs. The Royals ran wild on Melky Cabrera the last time they faced the White Sox, and he was throwing wild, and that really paid off.
And I'm sure Jerschele remembered that too. So he took a chance that Melky was going to be offline, and if he was up the line or even to the third base dugout side of with the throw, he would have been safe. And everybody would have said, "Oh wow, that was great. He sent him."
Zobrist reached with an infield single in the first inning. So who knows? You could have held him, and Escobar might have hit a 3-run home run.
Yeah,
but you go with all the averages and you put all the information together, and I'm assuming that's why Mike Jerschele sent Cheslor Cuthbert.
You saw Zobrist fake a bunt. Good idea, especially with Danks falling hard to the third base side. All you have to do is just drop it anywhere in here, and you got a base hit. But Zobrist, he doesn't need to bunt to get on. Zobrist, hitting right-handed, is hitting .350 in a Royals uniform.
Breaking ball stayed up. And Zobrist hits a routine fly ball to right field. 2 down. And now Danks will get Lorenzo Cain, who has an 11-game hitting streak. We remind you to vote for the Royals Player of the Month at rallyhouse.com. You'll be entered to win a majestic prize pack from Rally House. Zombie night. Glad I had dinner already.
Yeah, you know, a lot of folks into the zombie night. And I mean, there was a lot of thought that's gone into those costumes.
There go any thoughts of having cherry pie later tonight. Cain grounds out on a close play. Danks has his first 1-2-3 inning. White Sox lead the Royals 3-0 at the end of 3. The top of the 4th inning. We hope you'll spend Labor Day here at Kauffman Stadium as we honor the military with Royals Armed Forces Night presented by Budweiser. That's coming up Monday. And arrive early for a pregame ceremony honoring our servicemen and women prior to the game against Minnesota. Get your tickets right now at Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Chris Medlin back to work. He allowed 3 runs in the first inning and then has only faced 6 batters over the next 2 innings. Adam LaRoche from Fort Scott will lead off and takes a curveball down and in. Medlin walked LaRoche in the first inning.
See how they're playing him dead pull.
And he dead pulls it to Zobrist, who gets LaRoche.
It's 2 dead references we've made tonight, and there's a reason. A lot of zombies. That guy looks a little bit more alive, though.
Now, I haven't done a lot of studying of zombies in my lifetime, but is it a requirement to be bloody if you're a zombie?
Must be.
A zombie's just a dead guy that's
Pale,
still walking around, right?
White. Yeah, it looks like you just come out of the grave, maybe. But
yeah.
The blood have been dried up by then. I don't get it.
This
either.
is a bloody group of zombies.
It is.
Ramirez drove in 2 runs in the White Sox 3-run first inning.
Ooh, man, she took one. She was not behind the net.
Glad to see, though, she's on her feet, or at least coherent, enjoying the game. All things considered, not a lot of side effects. Still able to text. Front row seat. Got to be careful in those front row seats. Bunted foul. 1-2 on Alexei Ramirez. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag KCDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Once again, hashtag KCDataStrongFan. Two and two. Ramirez was a couple of inches from looking like that lady sitting in the first row.
Yeah. That's dangerous territory there.
Try and get him with a breaking ball, and it stayed up out over the plate, so you could see right before the pitch was thrown, Salvador Perez put that target down and away, and Ramirez is on with 1 out.
Pep, he wants it there, and it wasn't. Trying to find the rhythm with that pitch and his fastball. Changeup's been his best one. Has good command with it. Might want to use it here on Sanchez.
Sanchez ended that 3-run first inning, grounding into a 4-6-3 double play. This is the 92nd game that Carlos Sanchez has started at second base for the White Sox. It was Micah Johnson when the season began. Johnson was impressive in a couple of spring training games against the Royals, and you can take that for what it's worth, and was impressive in the season opening series between the two teams here. But after just 25 games there, he has been in the minor leagues.
And there's a reason for that, and it's not his offense. His offense is good. He can get on base. It's his defense, and if you play second base in the big leagues, you got to be solid. You got to be sound up the middle. You got to make all the routine plays and then some. And you can do that in spring training, but once the season starts, if your manager doesn't see that consistently and you're young, they're going to send you back for more seasoning.
Ramirez just got a huge jump. Nothing Salvador Perez could do, so Ramirez goes in standing with the stolen base.
16th for him, and that's the only way you're going to get a bag from Medlin is to cheat and take off early, because Medlin's, he's quick home and he's got a really quick move to first base. Credit Ramirez for that.
That breaking ball stayed up. Still 1-2 on Sanchez. The problem that Edinson Volquez had last night with his breaking ball, trying to get it down.
Now the White Sox, obviously not the offensive team the Tigers are, but they're big league hitters, and they're all trained to hit those pitches.
That's a pitch he's been looking for all night, and it stayed just inside. 2-2 on Sanchez.
It's a good spot there, though. Better there than in the middle. Two-seamer looked like a strike to me.
Line to center field. Cain's going to play it on a bounce. Ramirez will be held at third, and Cain goes all the way to the plate, and Sanchez moves up to second base. So far, the White Sox have outplayed the Royals on offense and on defense.
Yeah, Lorenzo Cain didn't want to do that. You have to throw the ball down, keep the double play in order with one out. He knew it the minute he released it. When I saw it in the air like that, that's going to get that runner to second base. And I think he just missed with his throw. I don't think he was trying to do that, but you want to keep it down so you can keep the double play in order.
He almost looked like he was trying so hard to hit the cutoff man that he let up.
Yeah, you could see at the last minute there, his release point was off. He knows better than that.
Infield comes in as Tyler Flowers takes a breaking ball high. Flowers single to right in the second inning. And now 1-1. They've come through so far with runners in scoring position. They have not been great this year, and that applies to many offensive categories. Last in the league in runs scored, last in home runs, second fewest walks, lowest slugging percentage. Got it in on him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And this was a team with the fiery Adam Eaton leading off. Jose Abreu, last year's Rookie of the Year. Avisail Garcia coming back from an injury to have a full season. Adding Melky Cabrera, adding Adam LaRoche. Alexei Ramirez in his walk season, figuring they'd get a big year out of him. So far, last in the league in runs scored. Just below the knees. 2-2.
Tight zone by Brian Knight. That's right where Medlin wants to keep that fastball. Early, first inning, he was up with it and it was getting hit, but so you figure it out. Do you want to keep it down and on the corners? That's right where he wants to execute it.
Breaking ball stayed up. Broken bat. And a foul ball back into the 4th row. Make sure to get your tickets for Futures Night here on Friday, September 25th, as we welcome select Royals minor league players to Kauffman Stadium. The event will feature a pregame autograph session that's open to all fans in the left field concourse. So arrive early to meet the future Royals. For tickets, Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. Ramirez is at third base. Sanchez is at first. Medlin could use a strikeout or a ground out, and it's pulled over to the White Sox dugout. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That's what he wants. He wants to stay away from anything up unless it's up with intent for him to swing and miss. Got the infielders all pulled in.
Another foul ball. Quite a battle here between Flowers and Medlin. Got it in the air to left center field. Lorenzo Cain is back, and that ball is gone. The Chicago White Sox have a 6-0 lead in the 4th inning. And for Tyler Flowers, that is his 7th career home run against the Royals. He has more home runs against the Royals than any other team.
Yep, Medlin not quite having the feel for that curve. And he didn't want to do that. That's for sure. He wanted that down, and it's just up, and hitters, their eyes light up when it's up there, especially in the situation with less than 2 and a runner in scoring position. He wants a sac fly, but he got more.
Upstairs to Tyler Saladino.
You know, it's easy to say, you know, he made a mistake with the pitch, but you got to credit Flowers for hitting it out of the park. Some guys pop that up, try to do too much with it.
Escobar runs to the middle and gets Saladino 2 down. That's just the 8th home run for the White Sox over their last 18 games. Record is almost exactly the same. Their home runs are way down. Runs per game down. And that's after spending $138 million this past offseason. Numbers weren't supposed to go down. They were supposed to go up.
Yeah, with the addition of LaRoche and Melky Cabrera to go along with Abreu, they thought that there was going to be a lot more power, and the Royals have more home runs than they do.
One and 2 on Adam Eaton. He singled to lead off the game and then grounded back to Medlin in the 2nd inning. Still 1 and 2. Medlin gave up 3 in the 1st inning and then faced only 3 in the 2nd with 5 pitches, faced only 3 in the 3rd with 8 pitches, and now 3 runs in the 4th. Out of play. Six runs, 8 hits for the White Sox in 4 innings. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Eaton. Off the end of the bat, and that's into right center field. That's going to be a long run for both Gomes and Cain, and with Eaton's speed, that is an easy double. And another trip to the mound for Royals pitching coach Dave Eiland. This is the week the Royals celebrated the franchise 4, and one of those members, at least one of those members, is here tonight, and we say happy birthday to Royals Hall of Famer Frank White with his wife Teresa. You may have noticed him sitting right behind home plate. I won't tell you how old he is, but he was born in 1950. Born in Greenville, Mississippi. And when Frank was 5, the family moved here to KC. So born in Mississippi, but raised in Kansas City. On the ground is short. Escobar throws out Jose Abreu, and that's the inning. A 3-run first and a 3-run fourth for the White Sox against Chris Medlin. And avoid the lines. Order online with rapid pickup at delivery.panerabread.com. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Thoroughbred Ford, for great deals on new Ford cars and trucks, visit thoroughbredford.com. Packed house and a disappointing start as the Royals are down 6-0. They scored 15 last night, 12 the night before, so the Royals and their fans, dead or alive, will use that for inspiration. 0-2 on Hosmer. He walked in the first inning.
Well, you know, when you're John Danks and you're coming to the ballpark today, and you know in 20 starts you have a 9-2 record with a 2.69 ERA and 127 in the third innings, you're extremely confident saying, all right, I can beat these guys. And then when your team supplies 6 runs, that gives you even more ammo. So this game is played between the ears mostly. 80-90% is mental. And when he has that mojo coming to the park, he believes he can win.
We've discussed with Monty many times how he did not like pitching in a non-safe situation because the feeling was, okay, come on, let's just throw strikes, let's get this thing over with. Sanchez goes toward the middle and throws out Hosmer. And I would think this would be the equivalent for some pitchers when you're pitching with a big lead, and Danks is someone who needs to use all of his pitches. He needs to change speeds. So he has to fight that feeling of, okay, we have a 6-0 lead, the pressure of his teammates saying, come on, just throw fastballs, let's just get this thing over with. Well, if he does that, Royals are going to get back into this game.
And he knows, the Royals well, that they love feasting on fastballs, especially guys that think they can blow it by him. And he's going to change speeds with this fastball. 87 to 90, 91.
Sanchez was way toward the middle, and he goes back to the right side and takes care of Kendrys Morales. 2 down in the 4th inning. Johnny Gomes to the plate, and DraftKings had Johnny Gomes as a player to watch tonight. 0 for 1 so far. Go to DraftKings.com, enter the promo code BRoyals to play daily fantasy baseball for free. Good to see Franklin Gutierrez playing well with everything he's gone through the past few years with various health situations.
Yep, without a doubt.
Up and away to Gomes. We hear all is good so far for Alex Rios and Kelvin Herrera. That would be a bad case of the chicken pox.
From what we just saw, yeah. You know, chicken pox are, children usually get them. So it's rare when adults get them, but when they get them, it has a much greater effect. It takes longer. But it's good to hear that there's been no more breakouts.
Into right center field. Eaton is there. That ball really carried. Gomes has had 2 good swings against Danks, but is 0 for 2. At the end of 4, Chicago leads 6-0.
And a lot of people have said, Corn Island, Nicaragua, how does a kid from there make it to the big leagues? And so I asked Chesler about his story today. And first off, there are 2 islands. There's Big Corn Island and Little Corn Island. He grew up on the Big Island, about 18,000 people. Baseball wasn't big there, although he and his family would once a week watch the Major League game of the week. Grew up speaking the English language, actually Creole English, not Spanish, not American English. But he wanted to play baseball. His dad loved baseball. There was no baseball league. So his dad created a little league team that Chesler started playing on when he was 11. His dad, Luis, also helped create 2 more teams. Chesler's little league at 11 years old, he homered in his first game, had 3 teams in it, guys. 3 teams. They play about 15 regular season games. The second and third place team at the end of the year would go against each other in the playoffs, and the winner would face the first place team. That was the season, as we see the first out to Zobrist. And then a couple years later, when he was 13 years old, he and the best players from the Big Island went over to play in a tournament on the mainland of Nicaragua. And it was at that point that he was discovered, invited to be on a select team for Nicaragua. Went over at 14 years old on this national team to Guatemala, said he homered against the United States. And that's when the scouts started calling his dad, calling his home. At 15, Chesler went over to the capital of Nicaragua. He studied there, lived there, played there. That's where he learned to speak Spanish. At 16 years old, the Royals found him and signed him. That is the long journey from Corn Island, Nicaragua to Kansas City.
So his father had to create not just a team, but a league for his son to play, and boy, has that paid off.
Yeah, how impressive of his dad to say, look, I think my kid has got a chance to play ball. Let's have some fun. Let's do something. That's proactive. Way to go, Dad.
I mentioned this before. His father was a lobster fisherman, and I asked Chesler, did you eat a lot of lobster when you were a kid? And he said, oh yeah. Which is different from, a kid whose dad might be a cabbage farmer. Did you eat a lot of cabbage as a kid? Yeah, we ate a lot of cabbage. But boy, when your dad is a lobster fisherman and he comes home at night every now and then, a couple of extra lobsters.
How about that?
That's one of the many reasons why Chesler always has a big smile on his face.
That's right. The other reason is he's in the big leagues playing third base for a championship caliber team.
One and two on Avisail Garcia. White Sox have two different 3-run innings. 3 in the first. Garcia drove in a run and scored a run in that inning, and then they got a 3-run home run from Tyler Flowers in the 4th. On the ground to Cuthbert, fumbles, recovers. Hosmer stretches into foul territory. He does that as good and as gracefully as any first baseman I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's one of the best. There's no question about it. Chesler stayed with it. Watch Chesler's footwork. Okay, he bobbles it. Look at how he shuffled his feet quickly, was able to go down and stab the ball with his fingers down. Watch it. See, he stabs on top of the ball instead of on the side of the ball. You'll kick it, you'll push it, you won't pick it up. Fundamentally sound all the way around. Haas, he's got the total package, and really what that is, we've seen a lot of guys at this level with great gloves, good footwork, but Hosmer's tall. He's a tall target, and he can throw. He's a guy that's got all of the gifts to play first. He'll wear the gold as long as he plays.
And if you wonder why he does that, it was his high school coach who taught him to go into foul territory to avoid collisions with the runner. If the throw is right to him and it's high, well, if he goes up for it, there's a chance that he comes down on the base and there's a collision. So this allows him to get a little taller by going back. And he also stretches. If he's stretching toward home plate side of first base, he'll go into foul territory, because that's when a first baseman is most vulnerable, with the runner going into his arm.
You are correct.
3 up, 3 down for Medlin in the 5th inning. And he gets his second strikeout. down 6-0. This is the middle series of a 9-game homestand. Farmland shows us what's cooking at the K. Tomorrow is Arts Night. Sunday afternoon is the Mike Sweeney bobblehead giveaway. Minnesota's here Monday through Wednesday. We'll have Armed Forces Night on Monday, and then Student Night on Wednesday, and then after that only one more regular season homestand. Salvador Perez to left field, and the Royals have just had terrible luck when they have hit the ball hard against John Danks. That's the second time that Sal has lined to the outfield. One down in the bottom of the 5th. And while we're talking about birthdays, happy birthday to Ken Hawk Harrelson, longtime television voice of the Chicago White Sox.
He's a beauty. No way around it. You know, I heard that the K girls went up and sang happy birthday to Hawk in the 3rd inning.
As they did for you.
That's right.
A couple of nights ago.
Yep. Made me feel good. I'm sure it made Hawk feel good too. It's the K Crew. Officially.
1-2 on Cuthbert. Royals have 3 hits against Danks. Cuthbert has the only extra base hit with a double to center field in the 2nd inning. Changeup had him spun around. That is Danks' 3rd strikeout. Well, Royals fans, did you know the StubHub app is personalized just for you? Now with the app, you can select your teams and artists, discover new favorites, and grab tickets wherever you want. Get to your app store today and get the StubHub app. Start at StubHub and let the fun find you. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Royals. Down and away to Paulo Orlando. He singled with 2 outs in the 2nd inning. And on the same play, Cheslor Cuthbert was thrown out at the plate, and that's the last Royals hit. Danks has set down the last 8 Royals. Two balls and 1 strike. Joel was telling us last half inning how the Royals discovered Cheslor Cuthbert. It was the White Sox who discovered Paulo Orlando. Signing him out of Brazil, where he was much more of a track star than he was a baseball player. And then very early in his professional career was traded to the Royals. That ball's hit hard. Well, Danks has hardly overwhelmed the Royals in the first 5 innings, but he's only given up 3 hits and no runs.
He's living right.
Connection to both the Royals and the White Sox. Made a name for himself as a big leaguer with the Royals, but after his hip surgery made his comeback with Chicago and enjoying the game here tonight. Got a huge ovation as they played a bunch of his highlights, and the fans didn't know it was coming, but then suddenly there he was waving to the crowd.
Yeah, it's great. You know, Bo hasn't been back to Kansas City in years, and he told me this winter, we had him on 610 on our radio show. We were having an interview with him, and he said he was coming back in September. He wanted to bring his wife, or actually his wife wanted to come, because this is where he proposed to his wife. And so he said, we're coming in September, and I forgot all about it. They showed the great highlight video in between innings, and then they showed him, and I was like, wow, you know what, he kept his word. He wanted to come.
Ramirez singles to center field, and an excellent job by the Royals game production staff and setting that up.
And you know, I asked him if he was going to fly in on his jet, and he says, no, we're driving. I said, how come, Bo? He said, because my wife wants to see the country. She wants to see the drive. She wants to be a part of it down here. She has great memories of Kansas City.
He has his own private jet.
He does.
Carlos Sanchez is grounded into a double play. Singled, and he scored on the Tyler Flowers 3-run home run, which turned a 3-0 game into a 6-0 game. And now Chris Medlin has tied a couple of career highs. 6 runs allowed and 10 hits allowed are both career highs, matching career highs. Six earned runs. There's the pitch that's given him the most trouble tonight, his breaking ball, and he throws a good one over the outside to Sanchez.
You know, they want to get Medlin's pitch count up. Ned said 90, 100 pitches. That's what they'd like to see. So with the bank of wins that the Royals have worked hard for, they can afford to leave him in.
When he moved to the rotation, they said it would take about 3 starts to get him to 100. 70 as a high in his first start, then to about 85, and then this one is where they hope to get him close to 100, and then after that he's just another starter without limitations. Ramirez takes off, and Escobar has to retrace his steps, and he still makes a great play to get Sanchez.
Beautiful play. The degree of difficulty was extremely high because he's going to cover second. Stop in your tracks, go back, and the quick releases, and his strong arm gets that done. It's all about the transfer. Watch glove to hand, out of there. Beautiful. Oh, yeah, I agree with you fellas.
So Ramirez 3 for 3. He's in scoring position for Tyler Flowers, who turned this game around with 1 swing in the 4th inning. Good curveball in for a strike. An 8-pitch battle with Medlin, and Flowers homered into left center field. Prior to that swing, it was a 3-0 game. into the crowd off to the right field side, and it's 0-2.
Look how easy his swing was. See, when you hang a pitch like that, that curveball's got overhand spin, and when a hitter hits the bottom half of it, it picks up more spin and carries better. You don't have to put a good hard swing on a hanging curve.
Sal gives him a high target, and a high fastball is fouled back. Yeah, that's a lesson in physics. A fastball, there's a more violent collision between the bat and the ball, but the spin needs to be reversed, completely reversed. A curveball, the spin stays the same, meaning spin out of the pitcher's hand and spin off the bat. Breaking ball stayed up. Back into the crowd. Big crowd here tonight on a Friday night. Including tonight, the Royals have 12 more home games. Can you believe that? In the regular season. High fastball gets Flowers. Medlin's third strikeout, and there are 2 down. And as we promised earlier in the game, we have selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game, sent in tonight by Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie. You can tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag KC Data Strong Fan for a chance to have it featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile.
Doesn't everybody just want to win for their birthday?
Saladino swings and misses. He is grounded out twice. One of those ground balls was a double play. 94 pitches for Medlin. One ball, one strike. Another position that didn't work out for the White Sox out of spring training. Connor Gillespie, who had his best major league season last year. Gillespie from Omaha went to Wichita State and struggled so badly that Saladino got a shot, and Gillespie was designated for assignment and then eventually traded to the Angels. That'll get another run to the plate, and that's a career high 7 earned runs allowed by Chris Medlin. Saladino drives in his 18th, and the White Sox have a 7-0 lead, and now at 97 pitches, Ed Yost says that's close enough, and he will make a pitching change. So Medlin goes 5 2/3 innings, allows a career high 7 earned runs and a career high 11 hits. Jeremy Guthrie will come on with 2 down. recent experience, I'm going to say she's about 5 months old. Fans, it's time to celebrate you. Join us for Fan Appreciation Night presented by Sprint. That's Saturday, September 26th. The Royals will host the Indians, and the night will feature games, giveaways, and great prizes. And the first 10,000 fans receive a Royals knit stocking cap, courtesy of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. That'll come in handy during the postseason. Get your tickets now at Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Adam Eaton bats with 2 outs. Saladino at first base as Guthrie makes his first pitch in his 3rd appearance out of the bullpen. He made 23 starts for the Royals. And if there was one team Guthrie pitched better than any other since becoming a Royal, it was the Chicago White Sox. Adam Eaton has 2 hits. He's really been swinging the bat well lately. Escobar backhands. The closest play is second base, but no play. And that's another base hit for Adam Eaton.
Yeah, Zobrist holds on to that one. That would have been a close call. Looked like second base umpire Ron Culpo was ready to ring him up.
And now Guthrie gets Jose Abreu with 2 on and 2 out. Starts him off with a changeup down and away. Here are Guthrie's overall numbers against the White Sox, but as a Royal, he is 8-3 against Chicago, and his ERA is an even 3. His first win as a Royal was against Chicago, and his first major league shutout was against the White Sox as a Royal. Took a no-hitter into the 7th inning, 1 game against Chicago.
That's been really good for Ned in the situations that have happened here over the last week, that he's been able to get the long guys in. This team really hasn't needed a long reliever because they have so many good arms in that bullpen, and the way Ned gives them an inning here, an inning there, inning there, you really haven't needed a guy to eat up 4 or 5. But it's been nice to see Chris Young get some action. Guthrie's been in. You know, it's good to keep these guys active and keep them working. You never know when you're going to need them.
Chris Young ended up being the winning pitcher last night, getting his 10th win of the year. Abreu down on strikes. Guthrie got him with a changeup. Chicago adds a run, and now they lead 7-0 at the end of 5½.
in death. A very happy Zombie there. They're very happy in Houston. Our Mazda game break already 3-0. Tough night for Mike Pelfrey. He's given up 7 runs. Actually, he's done now, giving up 7, including this grand slam to Hank Conger, 10th on the year. And he is, guys, the 10th Astro this year with at least 10 home runs. Hud mentioned it before. Texas breathing down their necks, and Minnesota right behind those teams for the wild card, for that final wild card spot. Should be a fun final 4 or 5 weeks here.
Angels had Hank Conger, and they traded him away. Hank, I'm glad to see him having some success there.
Escobar leads off for a 3rd time tonight. He is struck out and flied to right against John Danks. Royals, no runs, 3 hits, but several hard hit outs against Danks. And there's a base hit to right field, and that's the Royals' first hit since the 2nd inning. Danks had set down 9 in a row.
Great to see Escobar getting a base hit to right field after his off day yesterday, and the Royals found a hole.
Anna Wong is our Sonic Slam inning contestant. Anna lives in KCMO. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, $700 on its way to Anna's house. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Anna wins 25 grand from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. And that wouldn't be a bad idea in this inning. Down by 7. Zobrist takes a strike. Ben has an infield single, and he is flied out to right field. One ball and 1 strike. And that's inside. 2 balls, 1 strike. Danks faced 5 in the 1st inning, 4 in the 2nd, and then only 3 in the 3rd, 3 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th. So he hasn't had to sweat much tonight. And now 3-1 on Zobrist. No swing, on appeal to Vic Carapazza, the first base umpire.
Now the Royals, hotter than firecrackers the last couple of nights, have hit the ball hard tonight. They've had some chances to do some stuff, but they're just hitting atom balls, and that happens. But you know, John Danks is really mixing his pitches well, like he typically does, but his inside fastball has been effective for him. He's jamming the righties, and he's mixing in his changeup, his curve, cutters.
339 is a Royal, and 430 is his batting average here as a Royal. Well, on my scorecard, I have in the 2nd inning, Gomes lost a hit on a hard ground ball to 3rd in a diving play. Perez line to right. Gomes flied out to deep center in the 4th. Perez line to left in the 5th. Orlando grounded out sharply to 3rd in the 5th. And this has a chance to be 2. And the White Sox will turn their first. The Royals have 2 double plays. So that turns the inning around. And brings up Lorenzo Cain, who is 0 for 2 so far. He is our most trusted player, brought to you by the most trusted brand, Honda. 11-game hitting streak, which is a career high, and he has always done well against the White Sox. So this year is no different from any other. Lorenzo has more home runs and more RBIs against the White Sox than he does against any other team. Whatever that means. But when you're going the way Lorenzo Cain is going, you just try and find anything that rhymes with his name.
Yeah. Well, Robin Ventura made a pretty good move by flip-flopping his starters. Samardzija pitched yesterday. He was supposed to pitch tonight. Danks was supposed to go yesterday, but he knew the success that Danks has had against the Royals, so he flip-flopped starters. And so far, it's looked good for him here in Kansas City.
Close. Out. Royals may take a quick look. And no challenge. 6 scoreless innings for John Danks. He has faced the minimum over the last 4 innings. AT U-verse high-speed internet. The U-verse revolves around you. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT. By your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit your MidwestFordDealers.com. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. Cuthbert goes into foul ground and takes care of Melky Cabrera. University of Kansas kicks off their football season tomorrow right here on Fox Sports Kansas City. The Hawks take on South Dakota State in Lawrence. Coverage starts at 11 a.m. here on Fox Sports Kansas City. Coaching debut tomorrow for David Beatty. One and one on Garcia, 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored. And Guthrie's ahead, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Guthrie got the last out of the 6th inning in relief of Chris Medlin. Medlin allowed a career high 11 hits and 7 earned runs. But in the bigger picture, he threw 97 pitches. So you figure he pitches without limitations next time out.
I think it's all about the bigger picture now, this time of the year.
Gomes backpedals in right field and makes a play. And in that bigger picture, Joel was showing us scores from around the American League, and it's still 7-0 Houston in the 7th inning. So even if the Royals lose tonight, they could still trim a number off their magic number to win the Central. And Toronto is down to its last out, and they're down by 8 at home against Baltimore, and the Royals could trim their magic number for the best record in the American League without winning tonight.
You know, the Royals against the Central are 34-20 coming into tonight. And you know, the rest of the division was supposed to be the best division in baseball coming into the season. I believe the Royals have held their own and done their job. I think the rest of the league is the one who had to play for. It's not the Royals.
Stretch time at Kauffman Stadium. The White Sox leads 7-0.
Takes us around the league. Yankees beat Tampa Bay, so they'll pick up a game on Baltimore. That game just went final. Minnesota getting crushed, as we have told you. Pittsburgh leading St. Louis 4-0. And as we begin with Eric Hosmer at the plate, we will head to Toronto. 4 home runs hit in the game for our Mazda game break. And newsflash, none of them coming off of the bats of the Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Davis had a pair of them. He's the first in the majors to 40 home runs. And this might be surprising. Josh Donaldson and Edwin Encarnacion combined to go 0 for 7 on the night. Coming up after the game, we will not be talking about that, but we will talk about the Royals. John Danks has had their number tonight. Tough one for Chris Medlin. We'll get analysis from Jeff Montgomery, reaction from Ned Yost and the players, and much more coming up after the game on Boulevard Royals Live.
Thank you, Joel. We look forward to that. John Danks has 6 scoreless innings. The Royals have 4 hits and only 1 hit since the 2nd inning. 2-2 to Hosmer. He walked in the first. Grounded out to second in the 4th. Caught by Ramirez. It is simply just not their night, although they're getting a taste of their own medicine.
That's right. And you know, baseball's got to be the toughest sport to be able to say who's going to win and who's not. Now, coming in, you know, I like to stop there at where they take the money for the parking, and I always like to say hi and hey, look, we're on a roll. Yeah, well, you know, John Danks is pitching. That's okay, we're on a roll. But you would think that the Royals, after beating left-handers like they've had, that the Tigers had, that they would continue and stay hot, but it just doesn't happen.
Strike to Kendrys Morales. He is struck out and grounded out to second base. '85 pitches for Danks. Pitches in the first. That's the only inning where the Royals had more than one runner at the same time, and then incredibly efficient since then. We've seen this game before. John Danks pitching like this against the Royals. This year we haven't seen it at Kauffman Stadium. Danks is 2-2 against the Royals this year. 2-0 in Chicago, 0-2 here, with a 5.4 ERA and only one run of support. And now tonight he's gone 6 1/3 scoreless with 7 runs of support. Still 1-2 on Morales. Up the middle. It's like there are 14 White Sox defenders out there tonight.
That's just the way the game goes sometimes.
And again, I go back to how many teams feel when they face the Royals. Well, the Royals are seeing what it feels like, and the White Sox are not a very good defensive team. If you're on the road and want to stay connected to the Royals, subscribe to MLB.TV Premium. That's live or on demand on over 400 devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Just go to MLB.TV for details. Johnny Gomes skies it to left field. Cabrera waits, and that is 7 scoreless innings for John Danks. Kansas City Royals may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation, who acknowledge Bo Jackson's return to Kauffman Stadium tonight. Standing ovation from the big crowd. We have another full day of baseball tomorrow here on Fox Sports Kansas City and Fox Sports 1. The Royals and White Sox continue here on Fox Sports Kansas City. That coverage begins with Hy-Vee Royals Live at 5:30. Fox Sports 1 features a doubleheader filled with playoff implications with the Rays and the Yankees, followed by the Pirates and the Cardinals Coverage there begins at 11:30 a.m. It's also streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Alexei Ramirez may have cracked his bat. That ball drops foul. A couple of defensive changes. Terrence Gore is now in left field. And Christian Colon is at second base. Paulo Orlando, who was in left field, has moved to center. One and two on Alexei Ramirez. He is 3 for 3 with 2 runs scored. Up the middle, Escobar to his knees, and then the ball got away from him. He probably didn't have a play on Ramirez anyway, but still impressive how far he went to get to that ball.
And you like the effort. I mean, the foul ball popped down the first baseline. Hosmer was busting to try to catch that ball. You know, that's what you appreciate. Fans appreciate that. Look at this, Escobar putting his body on the line to make a play, and they're down 7-0. This is one of the traits that Ned Yost has instilled in this team, and these players all have pride in their game.
Cuthbert will give it a look, but it's out of play. That's a season high 4 hits for Alexei Ramirez. It is also a season high 7 runs scored for the White Sox against the Royals this year. Royals are 10-3 against Chicago, and in 7 of those 10 games, the White Sox scored 2 runs or fewer.
We pitched. Medlin was a little bit up in the zone early, and they made him pay. Pitching still remains the big part of the game.
Sal will run to the screen, but it's on the other side. 36,953 here tonight on a warm but very pleasant Friday night. Not what a lot of fans had in mind after the Royals scored 27 runs in the final 2 games of the Tigers series. Sanchez went around, and Guthrie gets his second strikeout. And now the man with the biggest hit tonight for the White Sox, Tyler Flowers. White Sox had a 3-0 lead in the 4th inning. The Royals could certainly handle that the way they've been scoring, but Flowers hit a 3-run home run to make it 6-0. And then the White Sox added a run in the 6th. And now Flowers is plunked by Guthrie. Flowers says he's fine, but they'll check on him anyway. We were in the bottom of the 4th inning at 9:18 last night.
I remember.
Wow, did that hit him on the hand, or did that get the knob of the bat? Royals went to the phone to look at just that. It looked like it got him on the hand. Now I have no idea why they would show Denny. Why would they show Denny?
I think it has to do with what you were just talking about.
Time of game?
I think so.
Two 2-0 on Tyler Saladino. 1 for 3 with an RBI. Batting with Ramirez at second base, Flowers at first. And he has his second hit. That's number 14. Ramirez runs through a stop sign and he will score. That's interesting. Joe McEwing was waving him home. And so Ramirez put his head down, and when he put his head down, McEwing put the stop sign up, and Ramirez never saw it. But it pays off, and Chicago leads 8-0.
Happens. His head was down when he hit third base.
Running on Terrence Gore, who does not have the same arm that Melky Cabrera does. But just goes to show you again that it takes a perfect throw to get a runner out at the plate. And when it is perfect, it looks bad. When it's not perfect, there he is going through the stop sign. It looks like a great call.
That's right.
You know, it's interesting. Third base coaches are different in how they give their signs, obviously, but they're also different in how they deal with runners. And Joe McEwing is one that will wave the runners and still put up the stop sign, where some third base coaches are just going to assume that you're going to run and they won't do anything until they put up the stop sign. But I think most third base coaches, when they're waving their arm, they're telling the runner you are going to score.
And you know, the third base coach can only do what the runner's given him. I like the fact that Alexi was coming hard the whole way, and he was wanting to score that run. There's a lot of guys that would have slowed down coming to third. Then he's got to hold it. Tester.
Adam Eaton has hit a 3-run home run, and the Chicago White Sox lead 11-0 in the 8th inning. And that's a 4-hit game for Adam Eaton. So remember, last night we had Ben Zobrist and Kendrys Morales as Royals teammates, both with 4 hits, and now Alexei Ramirez and Adam Eaton both have 4 hits.
So the 2 homers were on hanging curves, and there it is. When you hang one like that, all you got to do is put a level swing and catch the back underside, and hope that you square it up the right way and it goes out of the yard with really little effort.
And now Abreu launches it to center field, and that is way out of here. Ooh.
Well, right down the middle. And this guy, we talked about how he's been keeping his hands inside this season and how dangerous he is at the opposite field. That's a long way here at the K.
score into left center field, and that's over his head. A 6-hit, 5-run inning for the White Sox. That's Melky Cabrera's first hit. Guthrie came on in the 6th inning with 2 outs. You got the final out for Medlin, and then 3 up, 3 down in the 7th inning. Ramirez started this inning with an infield single. Then Guthrie struck out Sanchez. And then Flowers was hit by a pitch. Saladino drove in a run. Eaton homered. Abreu homered. Cabrera has doubled. Still only 1 out, and now Avisail Garcia. One ball, 1 strike. Garcia drove in a run in the 1st inning. Chicago got 3 in the 1st, 3 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th. They have scored 5 in the 8th. One and 2. Well, this is what the White Sox had in mind when they put their roster together during the offseason, with Eaton and Abreu and Ramirez and Flowers coming back, adding Cabrera, adding LaRoche. But here we are with fewer than 30 games to go in the regular season, and they are last in the American League in runs scored. Guthrie strikes out his 3rd, and that's the 2nd out of the 8th inning. LaRoche is the 9th man to bat in the inning. White Sox bat around and they score 5. he has only thrown 90 pitches. He has a brand new outfield. Leury Garcia is now in center. We'll get you the rest of the White Sox outfielders. As Salvador Perez leads off. 0 for 2 with 2 lineouts to the outfield. J.B. Shuck is now in right. 0-2 on Sal. And Trace Thompson, who got his first big league hit here at Kauffman Stadium earlier this year, is now in left field. That got Tyler Flowers, who has also been hit by a pitch tonight. Well, a tough night for Chris Medlin and Jeremy Guthrie. And yet on the other side, the Royals have no runs, 4 hits in 7 innings against John Danks. And they have had just 1 hit since the 2nd inning. Flowers says he's all right, at least all right enough to continue. One and 2 on Salvi.
Just like their players, the Royals fans are not giving up. They're giving the Royals chant. How about that?
Into the crowd. Crowd of over 36,000, just under 37,000 here tonight. 36,953 on Zombie Night.
Nice. Yeah. Way to go, sir.
Perez strikes out. That's 4 for Danks. 1 down in the bottom of the 8th. And with 1 down, we take a look at the sprint cuts of the game against John Danks tonight.
Well, he's certainly hitting his spots. We talked about his 9-2 career record against the Royals. This is the best he's pitched against these guys. I mean to tell you, he's hitting his spots. His changeup, curveball, cutter, all of them are working. Now the Royals have hit him hard. Hadn't had any luck. It's part of baseball. And that offense came through for Johnny Danks.
Cuthbert hits it hard to right field, and Shuck is there. So the balls that have been hit hard by the Royals tonight oftentimes have found a White Sox glove, and there are 2 down. 120 pitch inning. Now is back in the first. He has faced 1 over the minimum since the 2nd inning.
Well, there is one positive. The Royals won't be facing Johnny Danks in October.
Right.
Remember the John Lester era? It was like, oh, we can't hit John Lester, and he's pitching in the wild card game. It can happen.
By the way, before tonight, Danks had not won in over a month. August 1st. His ERA against the Central is over 6. His ERA on the road is about 6.5. So I think this is one of those games, if you were to plug the data into a computer and ask what might happen tonight, I don't think the computer would spit out Danks going 7 2/3 innings, allowing no runs, 4 hits.
No, no one would have called that. But Johnny Danks, we talked about it coming, the way he felt mentally coming to this ballpark.
Abreu has to take it himself. The one thing that Danks has done wrong tonight is he was late off the mound on a ground ball to first.
He says, all right, even my defense picked me up again. He's doing good.
By Miller Lite. Zombie Night was a huge success in the crowd, but not so much on the field. Tomorrow we will return to live person night as the Royals hope to even things up with the White Sox. They were beaten in game 1 of the Tigers series and came back and won the final 2 games. Francisco Pena is now catching, as Alexei Ramirez going for a career high 5 hits. He is 4 for 4, so he ties his career high. He does not get 5 as he grounds out to Escobar, and Drew Butera is the other change. He is now at first base.
I mean, you know, the Royals have only gotten 4 hits tonight, but they've been swinging the bats well. They're just, you know, they hadn't had any luck at all. They couldn't find any gaps. Couldn't get any mojo going on Zombie Night.
Top of the 9th inning. Last night we were in the top of the 5th inning at 9:36.
That's right.
Back to Guthrie. 2 down. So it looks like Johnny Danks is not going to go the distance. Frankie Montas warms up. Strike 2, Tyler Flowers turned the game around with a 3-run home run in the 4th inning that gave the White Sox a 6-0 lead, and Chicago got 1 more in the 6th and 5 in the 8th. 0-2. White Sox arrived having lost 7 of their last 11. That dropped them to 8 games below 500. They did very little at the trading deadline, thinking that they could hang in there. They made some pretty big financial investments this past offseason and didn't really do anything in the second half, although in this division with the way the Royals are playing, White Sox would have to do something out of this world. They are 8 games back in the wild card with way too many teams to pass. You know, it's just very difficult for one team to have that many changes in one off season, bring in that many new players with big expectations, big contracts. That hardly ever works the first year. Next year, we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Colon goes out and makes a play. So down 12-0. The Royals only needed 2 pitchers. Johnny Danks, well, he towels off, and he's going to get a shot at a shutout. The White Sox leading 12-0. White Sox dugout, 104 pitches late in the season, but he's going to get a shot at his 4th career shutout. He has 1 this year, and as good as he has been against the Royals in his career, he's 9-2. He doesn't even have a complete game against KC. Montes continues to warm up. First sign of trouble, first run, and Danks will come out. Alcides Escobar has been a true leadoff man tonight. He hits for the 4th time, all leading off an inning. 1 for 3, and a base hit to right field. Second hit, both have been to right field. 1 pitch, and the leadoff man is on.
That's good to see Escobar going to right field with authority.
Don Cooper, the pitching coach, on the top step, and right behind him, manager Robin Ventura, as they discuss the inning. This is Colon's first plate appearance, and he jumps on the first pitch and fouls it into the crowd. (9-2). He began 9-0 in his career against the Royals, and then the Royals beat him here at Kauffman Stadium in the season opening series. So 9-0 coming into this year, and 2-2 this season. Both wins in Chicago, both losses here. And now tonight, working on his 4th career shutout. Changeup is outside, 1-2. And that's a base hit into right field. 2 on, nobody out. Well, Danks has only made 5 pitches to the first 2 hitters, so that's helped him to stay in there and go for the shutout. Now at 109, and he'll pitch to Terrence Gore, so Lorenzo Cain's 11-game hitting streak comes to an end tonight. Popped up by Gore. Ramirez, Saladino are out, and coming in Thompson. Thompson makes a play in foul territory.
Too bad. I'd like to see Terrence Gore get a hit. But as much time is left in the month of September, and the way Terrence Gore is getting an opportunity to play some outfield here, he's got to get that first big league hit.
Drew Butera last half inning took over for Hosmer at first base. John Danks' season high for pitches is 118, and he's done that twice. Last time was at the end of May. Strike to Butera. One ball and one strike. Base hit left field. And holding at third is Escobar. Good throw from left. Thompson has a very strong arm, and the Royals have the bases loaded with one out.
Butera right on that. He pulled it past Ramirez. Jershely says, you know what? I think we'll just hold you there. We got less than 2. Chance to get on the board here. We'll try to keep away from the shutout. Ventura's going to go have Donnie Cooper talk to him. Maybe not now.
Ball 1-2 Kendrys Morales. 0 for 3. A base hit here could give him 100 RBIs for the second time in his career. Look out. This is the kind of game the White Sox imagined when they gave John Danks a big contract after 2011. 2008 he won 12. 2009 he won 13. 2010 he won 15. But his arm broke down in 2012. Strike 1 and 2 on Morales. He had to have left shoulder surgery right after he got the big contract. And since the contract, John Danks is 24 and 41. But this is what they had in mind when they gave him the long-term contract. Shallow left center field. That ball will be caught by Thompson. A run will score, no shutout. But an impressive play by Trace Thompson in left center field.
Sure was. He closed some ground quickly on that ball. Morales jammed him. And Thompson, man, full outspeed. This young man right here has a chance to be a left fielder for the White Sox one of these days. And they really are impressed with him. He's a tremendous defender, and he can hit too. But no goose egg tonight.
So now he'll just try for his second complete game. Danks shut out the Astros back on May 31st in Houston, and that's his only other complete game of the year.
Pretty impressive to do that to them there in their house.
Now Johnny Gomes, fastball at 91 in for a strike. Gomes 0 for 3, but 2 of his outs were hard hit. One required a diving play at third by Saladino in the second inning. The other drove then center fielder Adam Eaton to the warning track. 1 ball, 1 strike. Royals last night, for the first time in 16 years, completed back-to-back games with at least 12 runs. 12 on Wednesday, 15 last night. They hadn't done that since '99, and now held to 1 run tonight. And Danks gets the complete game. 121 pitches, a season high for him. Coming very close to a shutout. The Royals ruined that with a sac fly in the 9th inning. And John Danks is now 10-2 in his career against the Royals.
Whew, man, to do that to a scalding hot offense like the Royals, that's one of his best games. No question.
Back to wrap things up right after this.